Welcome to Running for Real, a global community with a shared love and curiosity for running. Together we reconnect with the reasons why we love to run and discover ways it helps us become better people. Whether it's the quiet moments of a morning run while the rest of the world still sleeps, or befriending the strangers next to you at the start line of a race, we are here to connect with others who see running as the common thread that weaves our lives together. Come join me, Tina Muir, as I talk with people from all walks of life, united by a love of running. Oh, my friends. Episode 439 of the Running for Real podcast. And as of today, we're taking a break. I don't want to say it's the end of this podcast because who knows where we're going with this. And I want to talk about some potential pieces that could come along at some point with this as we go through this episode. But yeah, I'll be honest, I have been struggling with this for a little while. Maybe you've sensed it. My heart hasn't been in the podcast. You've probably seen, I've definitely seen a shift over the last few years, but really in the last 6 months, away from when I meet people. This is Tina, my friend. She's a podcast host of Running for Real, to this is my friend Tina. She's like the sustainability guru or sustainability person. The shift has happened. I don't so much bring up the podcast when I describe myself anymore. And yeah, it is. Today we're going to go through kind of the journey to this moment. 2017, this podcast was started. I began podcasting in 2015 with Runners Connect as the host of the Run to the Top podcast. And now I'm taking a pause. Don't know where that's going to go. Don't know if this will come back. We will see. But first I want to begin by going into why. Where's my energy been going? Where has the attention been? Well, I think the first part of it is knowing when to stop. And as you probably know, maybe not, in 2017, actually, now I think about it, right when this podcast came along, it was during the launch period. I quit running as an elite/professional runner. I wasn't sure I would ever run again. Took 3 months completely off, was pregnant by the end of it. Slowly began back running with a different mindset in mind. At that point, I really despised running. I was really struggling with it. And I knew while quitting, there was a little voice in my head that said quitting is for people who, quitters, losers, whatever. I knew that wasn't true. And I knew it took more courage to say, my heart isn't in this anymore. I don't want to do this anymore, and step away. And I did. And while I'm not at that point with this, because I do love the conversations with the people that I have, I know that it is the right time to step away. And again, see this as an act of kind of next adventure or energy focusing in a different part of my life, not seeing it as quitting. But I don't want to keep going for the sake of it, because you can feel that too. So part of it is listening to that voice of saying, not enough is enough, but it's time. The other piece is you've probably noticed, as I mentioned, that shift from podcaster to sustainability person. I really have put my whole heart into this of moving the running community towards a more environmentally conscious way of being. You know that I released my book. We're coming up on 2 years ago, which is kind of crazy to say. Becoming a Sustainable Runner, a guide to running for life, community and planet, that I wrote with my co-author Zoe Rome. And it's been shifting more and more since that book came out, continuing to push the running industry, but not from a way of perfection, not from a way of be a vegan, not from a way of you have to do all these things or you're a failure, but that very much what I pride myself on, that permission giving, that bridge building of you can do this, but don't expect perfection of yourself, because then you won't make it. How can we make it so that you can take little steps? And so behind the scenes, while I have been working with the big marathons, like the Chicagos and the New Yorks, and speaking to the Londons and working with Toronto and CIM and all the other races, I was having the same conversation coming up over and over with other race directors, which was, okay, those races have a full-time person, those races have big budgets. I don't have that. I'm a small race. What can I do? And I noticed that while the biggest races definitely get the most attention and eyeballs on them, when you add up the number of participants in the big races combined, let's say the top 100, and then you combine all the others add up to significantly more than all the top 100 combined. So I knew that while I could get the top of the pyramid and kind of do the trailblazing with these races, I had to find a way to support the other races. And so along with my amazing team, particularly Jeremy and Sally, we worked through what we could do. And we came up with a nonprofit, which was approved as a 501c3 last fall, Racing for Sustainability. And we were originally going to announce it at the beginning of the year, but with the World Athletics Road Running Championships being taken away from San Diego and moved somewhere else, I just had to refocus for a few months just to get myself, my business, to a place where I could sustain my family. Because as you would have heard with the episode with Kelly, people think this job, this career is like fruitful and very abundant. It's actually not. And it is quite exhausting having to always look a few months ahead of what's to come to be able to provide for your family. So I had to refocus. And now we're at the time where we're ready to launch Racing for Sustainability. We built it to help small to medium races with their sustainability initiatives. If you have local races in your area, send them the link. We've made it very equitable, so races can join based on their size. It's not that much money. We've done all the work for them. We're really proud of what we have built. And one of the exciting pieces that we have with this is that we will be doing fundraising through running various races. And I'm very excited to tell you that we do have bibs for the 2025 Bank of America Chicago Marathon. And if you would like to be one of the 5 runners running for Racing for Sustainability, there is a link in the show notes to go sign up and fill out the form. We would love to have you as one of our 5 runners. And the deadline is May 16th. So make sure you fill it out by then to run with us at the Bank of America Chicago Marathon. And as you know, with me, it's not just going to be the bib. We're going to have a fun, exciting weekend together as a real team. So we're going to be doing this with other races. So stay tuned for that to come. And if you want to support individually, if you appreciate the work that I've been doing in the sustainability space, Racing for Sustainability, we do have an individual sustainability supporter donation page. If you want to do that, that really gives me the sign of like, I appreciate what you're doing. I see the work that you're doing and I want to support it. There is a link again in the show notes for that. And also, as I said, sending your local races the link to sign up for Racing for Sustainability. And on that note, I've had a few people lately who have told me that they've signed up for 100 days of sustainability, which I did a few years ago. For basically, you would get 100 days of emails, small, short, simple emails of here's 100 things you can do. You're not going to implement all of them. You probably won't even implement most of them, but it will get you started if you want to begin. And I've heard a few people lately have said how much they've appreciated and learned from that and been able to start implementing things that they never even thought about. So that's what we will be doing. We're putting our energy into Racing for Sustainability. We're really proud of what we're building here. I'm proud of the work that I've been doing in the running industry and the pushing that I have been doing kind of relentlessly in some ways. I wasn't able to share it when I was doing the World Athletics Road Running Championships, but I had some real pushback from one of the buildings, should we say, that I was working with. They were trying to say they were doing things when they weren't, and I really pushed back against them. And I was really proud of myself for that, because in that moment, as a woman sitting across the table from 3 men, it could have been very easy for me to say, oh yeah, I believe you. But I knew it wasn't true. And I pushed, and then they eventually admitted it and said, okay, we're going to change this. And so I am really proud of within the running industry, what I have been doing to hold brands and stores and companies and organizations accountable, and conferences, and nudging people towards making better choices. And it's not going to be every choice. I mentioned last week in my email newsletter about watching the movie Mufasa. and getting to see the evolution of what became Scar. He was named Taka when he was a kid. And I really was profoundly impacted by that movie. I do love the Lion King franchise, everything about it. And it was my favorite movie growing up. But there was also something about it, about choices we make and how you can make a good choice after you make a not so good choice. And even if you've made multiple, should we say, bad choices, you can still make the next one a good one. So I encourage you to go watch that as a random side note. I want to take a moment to thank one of our partners here who has been with me since almost the beginning of the podcast, and that is AG1. So I have some huge news about AG1. AG1 just launched their next generation, the same single scoop once a day, but now it's got more vitamins, minerals, and upgraded probiotics, and is clinically backed by 4 human clinical trials. They have seriously gone the distance to raise the standard in supplement testing. AG1's next generation is now one of the most clinically backed greens powders. They went above and beyond the industry standard in testing, and they've made it even better. I have been using this product for 5 years now. I cannot imagine my life without it. I really, really have loved the way that I can start my day with it first thing in the morning. And I know that no matter what I have the rest of the day, I've given my body a good starting point. And it is optimized for absorption and impact. And now with these added vitamin and minerals and an upgraded probiotic blend, this new formula is more comprehensive than ever, and it's going to help support immune health, gut health, energy, and more. So this is the perfect time to try AG1 if you haven't yet. I've been drinking it for 5 years, as I mentioned, and I'm so happy to have been partnering with them this whole time and their support with this podcast. So subscribe today to the next gen of AG1. If you use my link, you're also going to get a free bottle of AG D3K2, an AG welcome kit, and 5 of the upgraded travel packs with your first order. So make sure to check out drinkag1.com/Tina to get started with AG1's next generation and notice the benefits for yourself. That's drinkag1.com/Tina. So now I thought I would go through some of the things that are coming to mind at this end of an era with the podcast. Running for real. It's words I've said, thousands of times really. 439 episodes, over 7 million downloads. When I was thinking about highlights, where do you even go with that many episodes? There's so many things I could say. There's so many people I've talked to that have had profound impacts on my life and the things that I've learned from them. I did go through, though, and think about who were some highlights. There were some episodes that I felt really proud of getting people to open up who are typically kind of very closed book people. But some of the ones that stand out the most are the people who inspire me and I have learned and grown from in other areas of my life, but just happen to be runners. So Malcolm Gladwell, I think, will forever go down as my biggest accomplishment, interviewing him in person. What an incredible moment that was. I love the way his brain thinks, and getting to interview him and then go for a run with him was just such a surreal experience. We've remained friends. We check in from time to time with one another, send photos of our kids to one another. That was truly a joy. Michael Gervais, I interviewed Michael Gervais 3 times. I adore that psychologist. I have learned so much from him over the years, and that was also something I'm very proud of. David Epstein, Ryan Holiday, Reshma Saujani are 3 that come to mind as people who are pushing the boundaries, making people think differently. And I am proud that I got to interview them and bring them on the podcast. And the last 2 that come to mind in that category are Kaylee and Sandy. Kaylee and Sandy have changed my life. I got to meet those 2 through the podcast, and it led to 2 lifelong family members. I got to run the Boston Marathon with them, got to run the TCS New York City Marathon with them in that epic viral video you probably saw. And then I get to finish again with Kaylee and Sandy last year as they did it again. So on that note, there's also been some real close friendships that have come out of the podcast. My I've interviewed many of my best friends on this podcast, but some of them have come to become close friends because of those interviews, and therefore leading to these friendships I have today. And I'm not sure they would have been there without the podcast. Ryan Montgomery, I first interviewed on the podcast, and I remember thinking, I really want to get to know Ryan more. Same with Jay Solly and Guy Winch. Wow, Guy Winch. Guy, I reached out to on a whim after his TED Talk, one of the most watched TED Talks. I reached out to him and we've become incredibly close. He doesn't even run himself much, maybe a little bit, but not much. Zoe Rome, Simranjit Singh, so many more I could easily mention. Those people I got to know through the podcast, and we became very close. And yeah, I don't think it would have been close without the podcast. And then there's the Together runs, 99 of them. It is kind of amazing. It stopped at 99 podcast episodes of Together runs, where I took out a microphone, took us through some meditation practices, and then we just talked and caught up, and I shared with you updates and checked in with you and left space and time for you to check in with yourself. I feel really proud of those Together runs, and I loved that we got to do them, and I hope you enjoyed them too. You can still go back and listen to them. I get messages weekly of people listening to the Together runs even now, so make sure you do check those out if you haven't. And that's the piece when I was hinting about it earlier, like I'm not there may well be a time where I go back to adding those in, maybe even soon. And those would go through the Running for Real feed. And then, there's the For Real episodes that I did with Sarah Crouch. Sarah Crouch Sarah Crouch I've known longer than the podcast. But Sarah Crouch and I did the For Real episodes. So real, raw, random conversations that were just so much fun. We laughed our way through it. By the way, if you have not read Middle Tide, Barnes & Noble, Book of the Month, doing incredible work, Sarah. USA Today bestseller. Go read Middle Tide if you haven't already, and go back to those For Real episodes if you like. And then I think about the evolution of the podcast. It's been there through the birth of 2 daughters. I didn't even have Bailey when I started the podcast. I wasn't even pregnant when I started the podcast. So it's been there through the birth of my 2 daughters. And on that note, this feels like a good time to say thank you to Jeremy Nessel, my podcast audio engineer, who's been here the whole way through with me from 2017, still on the team, big part of RFS, Racing for Sustainability, like I mentioned earlier. Couldn't have done this without Jeremy, but also thank you, Jeremy, for your friendship, for your heart and energy and love that you've put into Running for Real, and to supporting me. And I can't wait to see where the next decade goes. And I guess I'll also take this moment to thank Sally Pontarelli. Could have mentioned this another point. Sally does so much so I can do so much. When you see all these things I'm doing, I couldn't be doing it without Sally. Sally is my right-hand person, is not even the right word. It's just my support system, my support person in the work that I do. So thank you to both Jeremy and Sally for all that you do. And we've had amazing people working on the podcast along the way as well. Kat, Stacey, Maria, Kelsey, Sandy, Louise. I'm sure I'm missing some people, though. I should have wrote this down earlier. Erica. We've had amazing people working on the podcast, and I'm just so grateful for all of you. There's been many live shows that I did with this podcast. Up to 500 people, I think 550 maybe. One of the live shows we did, they were huge, so much fun. Panels, podcasts, loved it. Also led to Running Realized, my 11 episode series with Knox Robinson, kind of NPR style podcast. So proud of what we did there. To the brand partnerships that I wouldn't have without this podcast. To Tracksmith, who I've been working with since 2019. To AG1, who I mentioned earlier. We've had Precision on for many years. Hydropack. And, there's so many other brands that have come through along the way. And it's just been such a gift to work with these brands that have come in and out for various periods during the time of the podcast. And on that note, we won a Sports Podcast Award back in 2023, I believe. And that was an incredible accomplishment that we were so proud of. 2021, wow, that was a while ago. Sports Podcast Award winner. We were so proud of that achievement. We've also won an award at Outdoor Media Summit for my episode with Jordan Marie Brings Three White Horses Daniel. So award-winning podcast. I've processed things. And I've met so many of you. The amount of people who have come up to me and said, I listened to your podcast or I've listened to it for a long time. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I really have loved meeting you in person, and I hope you continue to come find me in my trash skirt or come to a plugging event sometime soon. What a gift that has been. So as we make this move away from podcaster to sustainability person, what would be the word? See, people say guru, but that feels weird because that's still that imposter syndrome in me of like, I don't have the formal training, I don't have the degree. Sustainability guide, sustainability, I don't know. Either way, it feels like the right time to take this step and pause this podcast, take a break. If you want to stay in touch and follow along, feel free to go back to listen to all the episodes. Put lots of links in the show notes for you. You can sign up for the newsletter at runningforreal.com. We still have that going. It comes out every Monday. Well, no, it doesn't come out Monday. It comes out on Wednesday or Thursday. Once a week, just a story very similar to my style on podcast, a story with a few links of things to check out. You can also go support Racing for Sustainability and the work that we are doing by going to racingforsustainability.org. You can donate from there. You can send your races over there to go get them Racing for Sustainability certified. And they can put that proudly on their website to show that they're doing the work. And you can find me on social media. I'm most active on LinkedIn and on Instagram. Go find me there. My friends, thank you for tuning in, for your support, for the kind words, for growing with me, for dealing with my woo-woo, earth-loving nature and letting my true weird self come out. End of an era. Thank you to Jeremy and Sally and everyone else who's joined along the way. And I'll see you sometime. Take care, friends.